Then we should start recording this radio show right now with that understanding.
Okay.
Tell me again for the audience, for your listening audience, what you just told me. You think you know who you are, what?
From your book, The Zeolite.
Okay, well, that's something only you can know. No one can know it for you.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a start. Even if it's not right, you begin to know things. And as you go into that direction, if some clarity needs to be done, the clarity and the wisdom will come with it and change. And you will agree with it and be fine with it. Enlightenment comes in a way, I don't like to use that word because it's been so misused on earth, like phony gurus and people charging money and people pretending to be spiritual masters and all kinds of stuff. Whenever there's money involved, you can be sure it's probably not quite right. One way or another, I don't care where it is on earth, because tyrants control all money systems, even those in religions. Rule of thumb, it's a way of being able to determine what's right and what isn't when you're awake on this planet. Doesn't mean you don't deal with it, it just means you understand it's an illusion. Tyrants want to control you through it, so you just play the game but not be caught in it. And then you can live your life as a free being and grow in awareness until you don't have to deal with that stuff anymore. The time will come. When that time comes, you and many other people won't want to deal with it anymore. And it will vanish from the earth. You got to remember that many other world systems out there, hundreds and hundreds of millions of them, just in a small part of our galaxy, about a quarter of it, do not use money in any form. It's illegal. How do you convince a planet of people on Earth as unconscious they are that any of that's real? All they know is what they see around them. And that's controlled by the people in power on this planet. They want to keep them a working class, a slave class, so they can tax them and keep doing their private little things with classified this and that projects and reverse engineering extraterrestrial stuff they've borrowed or stolen or killed people for it. Who knows what they did. If you make an agreement with the devil, you can expect some pretty nasty things to come out of that, so to speak. The U.S. government and others made an agreement with the tyrant race after World War II. They never should have done that, but that's what they did. And it was done because they were manipulated against their free will to do it. They were left on their own influence, uninfluenced by the misuse of extraterrestrial technology by tyrants. They probably would not have made that agreement. Once it was made, endeavors had to be made to get the beings who had made this agreement free from the control that was being placed on them illegally from tyrants from off the planet. They wanted the resources and the people. They wanted to kill off 3/4 of the population, just slaughter them all. And they could control 500 million and take over the planet. And that's how the tyrants think. They don't care about human beings. Down deep they do. But as tyrants, their whole society was geared around suppressing human beings because they were jealous. No other reason. Just for that reason alone. This is the way galactic history was long ago. And it made what Earth is today. The influences from that, both good and bad, made Earth like it is today. There can be no denying this. And anybody that denies it's living in a self-delusional fantasy land that somehow God's will put them on Earth. It's not God's will that put them here. Tyrants put them here against their will. In one historical scenario or another, going back 500,000, 1 million, 10 million years, 50 million years to the time first colonizers came to this planet from other worlds, when it was ready for human life, when the dinosaurs were made extinct. You know who made the dinosaurs extinct? It wasn't a meteorite. They became so big as a genetic experiment, and they didn't originate on Earth either. They were brought here, kind of dumped off here to get them off those worlds. And on a planet where there wasn't any human life, to see how they would thrive and grow. They had big trees and giant forests, and these animals were so big they were eating themselves into extinction anyway. So they were destroyed. The bodies were destroyed on a planetary scale to make way for greater evolutions, human beings to come here. The first colonizations on this planet had animals brought here that did not eat each other and had gene structures they did not have to. And the human beings on Earth were caretakers of the lower life forms, so to speak. They didn't see them as lower life forms. They saw them as Atmas running animal bodies. Younger Atmas, they were supposed to help evolve. Bodies are just temporary. They're for experimenting with how to feel and touch and have sensation in the material dimension that you decide to explore as an Atma. If it's physical, you get physical matter body. If it's astral, you get an astral matter body, and so forth and so on. A causal or a mental or etheric body. The Atma body itself is the only one that can reside in the plane of Sat Nam, in that first realm above the void known to most Buddhist monks. You can only go there in the Atma. You can't take a lower body there. And when you're there walking around, you feel like you're walking around in a physical body. No pain, you don't age, there's no illusion that you're a body, you're running a body, and it's fun, it's a joy. In the Atma plane, above the void known to most Buddhist monks, there's probably a few monks that have had the courage to explore beyond what they're taught, even by their teacher monks, or they'll never do it unless they have the courage to go beyond that belief system. Once their training is finished and they are a monk, they can choose to go further if they want, and they'll cross paths with more evolved beings than Buddha ever was. That doesn't make Buddha worse or better. It just means in the life he lived, he set an example for people. That was thousands of years ago. Things are different now. People on Earth, 7 billion people. Countries that don't even get along from one neighbor to the next. They're all selfish. Everyone's selfish on this planet. They're out for themselves, governments, people, lawyers, countries, all vying for more power or better technology. They're not working and living as one planetary culture for the good of all life. And until this planet becomes like that, it is not going to be allowed to explore the stars. This is a quarantined planet and a quarantined solar system, period. There's no power on this earth that can change that under any circumstances, which means that people on earth are going to have to move in a new direction or consciously stay stuck knowing they have a way to go into much finer life out in the universe and on this earth. And they're confronted with that choice right now as we speak. Worldwide, every leader. Breaking old bad habits is not easy for many of these people. One of the first requirements to play among the stars is full, honest disclosure to all the people on this planet. They're going to have to give up their classified system. Every country. Or they're never going to play out there. So, when I say this on this video, it isn't something they don't already know, Perry. They're just not telling the people they already know that. Are they? Not yet. They have to get over their fear of retribution for all the bad they've done in the name of being your government or your police force or your military that they didn't tell people. And they're going to have to get over that fear. Because as they wake up, the people are going to be awoken as well. No one's going to be out for revenge. That's just not the way we work. It isn't like people on Earth that are so afraid of what's going to happen. It's their own fear. It has nothing to do with the reality of the situation at all. You take the tyrants out of the equation, get them off Earth, they weren't harmed, and then you start working on changing this place. And it's only moving in one direction, not two. That direction cannot be reversed or controlled or possessed by any power on this earth or on any planet in the entire physical universe. Anywhere. It's really that simple. And they're being given the assistance they need to make that transition. So they're not going to be thrust into it blind. Everybody's going to be in chaos, rioting in the streets and all that. No, that's not what's going to happen. That would not be productive for anyone. So that's not the way this is working. It's hard to get people in governments, classified or otherwise, scientists classified or otherwise, and the mass of people to accept that the change they're going to go through is a kind one, and it's not for vengeance or revenge, and cannot be. And it could never be done that way, because when you put out those kinds of energies in the energy that runs the physical universe, it's reflective, it's reciprocal. It works based on what you imagine in it, and then it co-creates that with people, not bodies, with the beings running those bodies. And people running those bodies on Earth don't know this. So they're putting out negative, fear, and positive things, and good and bad all the time, which is like taking a battery of a car and grounding it into the Earth. Because it neutralizes both good and bad, and you just get stuck here. That's not the way it's supposed to work. Getting people aware of how to use their imagination properly, which is not a function of the brain or a human body at all, in any way. Not at all, not even a little bit. When people imagine something, the brain in their head is not imagining it. Higher intelligence, memories of past lives, going to other worlds, getting out of the body, has nothing to do with the body or the brain whatsoever. The brain you grew up with could not remember other lives and other worlds because it wasn't there to remember them. So when you're awake on Earth running a body, you start to become aware of all this, then who or what is becoming aware of it? Not the body. The real you is becoming aware of it. When you look at that poster of the Atma, bring it up and let people see it close up to your camera, and hold it very still so it'll come in focus. You hold it very still. You can see it has multi-dimensional layers from a white core, kind of goes through yellow and then orange and then red. You can't see it very well from here. Then it becomes eventually kind of a green, then a blue, then a violet, then a lavender. And there's a golden energy field surrounding it. It comes from this yellow area here. That's a causal energy field. But it's a form of, how do I put it? A balance between, it neutralizes the laws of physics. So you float in a material plane or on the astral, another plane, but you can move around free of the effects of the energy that runs that plane. Because the energy that runs the core of this being, the real Atma, the real soul of each individual, this is what is in the image of the source, supreme being. This, not that body. They got that all wrong on Earth. It has nothing to do with human bodies, what the soul or the Atma is. And it has structure and form and purpose. Each of those teardrop shapes is a higher faculty of being. It's spherical. See and move and be aware of things in every direction. And you can move around the universe on a field of energy that runs through every plane, connects everything together. It looks like that white light center, with a little bit of a gold tinge to it. There's an energy like that that runs through the void of space. People call it dark matter. Appears dark to physical human eyes because physical human eyes on Earth are only designed to see a very small spectrum of light. Human eyes can't even see into the ultraviolet or infrared. It's just light on a higher frequency. And those lights travel faster than the speed of light as it's known on Earth. So the actual light that's out between the stars in space, it looks black. Scientists on Earth know it's full of energy. They call it dark matter because their eyes only see it as dark. Other instruments that detect that matter show it as light. And the universe is full of this dark matter. It connects everything together. It's on that energy which is not made of physical matter. It isn't positive and negative. It's an energy behind that supports all the different multidimensional levels. Planets, universes, astral, causal, mental, all of it. There's one energy connects everything together, including atoms. It's on that field of energy like a grand ocean that the individual pure teardrop shapes or the pure atmas move and have their being. When form is created and the atma runs a body, it's meant to know what it is and what the body is. They're not the same. On Earth, of course, people don't know any of this. They've been made to forget all of it. So they think that this is created in the image of some supreme being. This is not true. It just isn't. This is a physical body made of a twin strand of DNA, which is science, putting together genomes to build this kind of body so an atma can run the brain through the pineal gland and run it with higher faculty awareness, higher faculties. People on Earth don't even know what higher faculties are because they've been suppressed until they just think they're a body. It's understandable they didn't have much choice in the matter. If you ask any being, did they have a choice in coming to this world? If they're self-delusional to make themselves feel better, they'll tell you it was God's will. Or they made a contract with their parents or something like this. They might have before the lords of karma in the astral plane. Now, those guys aren't people you want to play with or listen to either, because they don't have your best interests in mind. They compel people to reincarnate with no memory. They claim it's God's will. What God? A God people can't see, can't touch, don't think they can comprehend it. And if you went all the way to heaven, it might speak to you from very far away and you'll never know it. This is how people think. And this is incorrect, completely. Completely incorrect. The source itself and what we are as an atma are comprised of the same identical energy. The sooner people become aware of that, the better off they're going to be. Anywhere on any planet, in any lifetime. So, I bring this out. I'm probably the only being on Earth bringing it out like this. Can't say that for sure. People mix so much other religious background and baggage from other lives into what they do here, meaning well, but it's cluttered up with a whole lot of other belief systems that really don't benefit changing anything. And you can't blame people for it because what was done to them without their consent, without their permission. Do people really, I already know the answer, but yeah, they do. Do people really believe that some God somewhere told them to come to Earth, dumber than a brick, with no memory of who they are or where they came from before that, and tell them to go to Earth because it'll be good for them, they'll get it right this time? What? With no wisdom from all those lives and all those planes, how can you get anything right? There's no God in eternity that dictates that to people. The source itself supports all life in all the grand multidimensional universe, good or bad. Just lets people have at it. See what they're going to do with it. To have someone like the Sayrays or the Galactic Alliance intervene in a planet like this is normally very distasteful to them. They don't like to do it. They expect people to pull up their britches and grow up and play like mature adults in the universe with others. People on Earth not only don't do that, they can't do it the way they are right now. So they're quarantined here. They're dangerous, destructive. There's no way they're going to let them travel out in the stars the way they are. I don't care what kind of reverse engineered spaceships they have. They're not going to be allowed to do it past the point. And they know that. They're just hanging on to power in a senseless way because they're afraid of letting go. They're afraid some retribution will come their way. Here's the retribution they're going to receive, and they can count on it. They're going to be changed. They're going to be set free from the subconscious controls that make them act like they do now, because that was not their choice. It just wasn't, any more than it was yours or mine. The more people become aware of this, the better off they'll be to recover who they are fully. Anger and fear and hate, artificially created emotional states that are not normal for the Atma or a human being. Not normal. That's abnormal. People on Earth think the abnormal is normal, don't they? They do. They think it's normal. It isn't. Down deep, they all know it isn't. It's not a person alive on this planet that doesn't know that some kind of negativity is running this planet inside themselves. Something that's not right. And they can't put a finger on it because it was done to them so they wouldn't remember. Otherwise, you'd know who the bad guys were. You go after them. Bad guys don't want you to know who they are or what they did to you. Of course, the beings out in the galactic alliance know who all of them are. They weren't able to hide any of it. It's just the people on Earth who don't know yet. That's kind of sad, but ultimately, let's face it, the Atma, which is what you are, is not a physical body. It cannot be destroyed by a nuclear bomb. That's material matter. You're not made of that matter. It can't affect it. It's Atma's misdirected subconscious that make nuclear bombs in the first place. They can just as easily unmake them if they have the will to do it. And if they don't do it, they'll be dissolved into some other product right on this earth, right before their eyes. They'll be simply dissolved away into something else. What are you thinking about there, Perry? You drifted off. I saw you drift off there. You can turn on your mic. It's okay. We're not on a journey yet.
I just have another kind of experience. I can't explain it.
Okay.
Speaking,
The point is, when I speak this truth to everybody listening, I don't care if they're classified or who they are on this planet. They know if they read the tone in my voice and the energy from my being that I'm speaking the truth. They can detect that with devices. They know the game's up for them. Not harmful. Nobody's going to be shot or hurt. It's a process whereby everyone recovers from this madness they've been living under for millions of years, sometimes in incarnations, not remembering anything. That's coming to an end. That's the way it is. They're going to have to live with it in a good way. People that have done a lot of bad things are going to do nothing but good things. Create new ways of doing things for the benefit of others. That's what they really want to do anyway, underneath it all. Under also diabolical terror that makes them act in negative ways towards others. When that's gone, nobody will want to do any of that. It's artificial. It isn't even part of the natural state of an Atma, you and me, that run bodies. Never was natural or normal. So why would we want to hang on to stuff that's not natural or normal? It's artificial. Well, we wouldn't once we're aware of it. Why would you want a subconscious mind into which things can be put that will influence your thinking and decision making and you're not aware of it? People on Earth think a subconscious mind is normal, don't they? It isn't. You know, just being aware of this and hearing it for the first time begins a process within the Atma that it starts to recover, taking back control of its own being from tyrants that have affected it in a negative way in the past. In a past they don't remember. And here they are on Earth, living out a life. How did I get here? Where do I come from? What's God? I must be a body. I don't remember being an Atman. That's what they think growing up. Right? Yeah. It's not right. It just isn't. So I'm going to tell people the way it is. It's not right at all. People have fanatical religious beliefs. They're willing to die for that, for a God they never meet, some abstract concept way up there that they're not bright enough to ever comprehend, they think, wrongly. When an Atma can comprehend the Supreme Being itself. If it goes to that source and blends with it, you don't dissolve your individuality, but you move within like a mighty ocean that's made up of these beings. Us, collectively, we are the Supreme Being. And our purpose is to respect that source in each other from there, the highest point, and in all life in between there and here, and everything in between. That is what we're supposed to be doing as co-creators with it. We're living down the lower world's running bodies. So the real purpose is to create new ways of doing things and see it and have insight, wake up, and then bring it back to that source and share it. Because that's how they all get fired up to change things from us. The Supreme Source does not know what potentials exist in the future. It can't. We haven't created it yet. That's how it really works in eternity. Ultimately, each one of us have to accept full responsibility for the failed experiment we call evil, because it doesn't work to do what it was intended to do. It worked too well, really. Something had to be created that would take its place and really motivate people to create only that which is of uplifting benefit for all life. That's how you use the imagination properly. There's only one proper way to use it. There aren't two, because as soon as you do that, creating bad and good, and they neutralize each other. Pure physics, pure electricity. So when a being draws energy from this omnipresent field of force that's like them, and they move in it, and they say create bad and fear and create good and a nice family, they're creating those circumstances in their life, and all this spirit does is support both of them. You see, we have to be responsible, or we're going to keep doing the same thing forever. So that's really the core of being. It doesn't look like this. It looks like that right there, up there on that poster. When I'm sharing this with you and whoever listens to these shows, there's no money involved from my end. Practically, there has to be on your end to some degree so that you can pay for the hotel and get some people in it where some good can be done for them. There are practical issues, but in my work this way, as you know, other than your radio show and with Gail's little show, these sessions are not public knowledge in this world. When I do private sessions with you or a group session with 7 or 8 people, the rest of the world is not aware they exist at all because they're not promoted. There's no money involved for my part. That's for your benefit. That's it. I wish that I had the ability to do this in front of 7 billion people and have a channel come through me and change it all. Well, that can happen one day. It's got to be the right time and the right place with the right beings supporting it from all over creation to change this place. It's that backward. It's a dumping ground for beings that have been trapped and corralled and hoodwinked and tricked, and they just dump them on Earth to cover their trail. It's got a whole planet full of different races that didn't originate on this planet. Asian people never originated on this planet. African American people never originated. Caucasian people never originated here. Screw that. They originated several billion years ago out in the galaxies and were brought here or came here voluntarily to colonize this planet, to begin having life here when it was ready. And this has been done down through eternity. This is not new. The real history of Earth goes back in this cycle 55 million years to the end of the great big dinosaurs. All that history is missing from beings on Earth because they don't remember who they are. The Atma, in those teardrops on those levels, contains the recordings of all those lives. Still there. Hasn't gone anywhere. It's not been destroyed or lost forever. But it does need to be remembered, recovered, recalled, exercised, wakened up, turned on. That's the fact. They're still there. But they do have to be turned on. If you don't remember how to turn them on, then you need a little help to get to where you can remember how to turn them on, kind of thing, or have someone do it for you. I don't know of any spiritual masters from other worlds and higher dimensions, and I know many, that will turn those on for you just as a favor. They want you to get to a point where you can turn them on with their help when it will really be appreciated and you'll really use it correctly after that. That's how they work. And it makes sense practically. Otherwise, you have all those things turned on and you're running around throwing power with no discipline, no maturity, having forgotten for 500,000 years, and you just start running energy in every direction. You certainly don't want those turned on when you have a subconscious mind that can influence what you do with your imagination against your will without your awareness, because that will be destructive. And you'll be responsible for that too. So you see, beings aren't going to come and do something for anybody until they're awake enough to co-create with them, getting out of their unconscious state. Because when you do that and you wake up, it's yours forever. No one can ever take it from you again. It becomes your mastery. Usually we start off and we go on a little journey for the benefit of the listeners. I want to show them how this works. I fully realize that at the beginning of this and during many journeys, they struggle with understanding how this works or why it works. That's because we are telepathic beings. That poster shows what we are. That's spherical, many levels, and it's telepathic in nature. The core of that being can speak to the core of another being 4 galaxies away on a planet and talk with them. Time and space, gravity wells, black holes, the limits of the speed of light have nothing to do whatsoever with the way the Atma functions. Only physical matter made into bodies on those planes are limited by such physical laws, not the Atma. I usually endeavor to get people to be comfortable in a chair or lying down and to take several deep breaths. When they breathe out, this is an act of free will. You imagine all the negative things you can think about. Future, your body, your age, who you're married to, kids, worry about this and taxes and governments lying to everybody and all that. You stick it aside and you let it sit on the ground around you like in little computer disks. You know it's all there and you know it's artificial. Negative things aren't real. You've just been forced to believe they are. They aren't. They're programs containing terror and fear and death. That's how tyrants rule over people. And they're placed in an artificially created subconscious domain, so it influences the nervous system. You don't see or hear what's in the terror of those programs, but it's designed so you just feel the terror. And that causes people to think away from discovering who they are, away from remembering who they are. There's an aspect of the core of a being after enough lives that gets so courageous at some point, it begins to break through all that was ever done to it. Because it has always had the ability to do that, but it has been made to not believe this. When it begins to remember that it has always had mastery over any form of negativity, negative beings, in or out of bodies, or negative misuse of extraterrestrial technology, then it begins to take back domination of its own life from tyrants. They can go back millions of years. The higher faculties are suppressed behind and below terrorizing memories. So when you're with people who are safe, that you can trust, and you know you're being uplifted, they can help an individual recover what was done to them, not to have to relive a torture, but to make it no more than a memory, so that all the faculties below that come back to the surface. And the being begins to remember who it is, what it once knew. I know because I had to go through this myself. So I serve as a living example for others to maintain standing in my own gravity so that they'll keep being mirrored back standing in their own gravity until they're confident to make this recovery. This is what I do. It's telepathic. You might see my mouth move and words move, but I'm really a being hovering above this body, talking to all the Atmas that are running bodies listening to this show all over the world. And to people who aren't even on this world who are tuning in this, other realities, other dimensions, friends from other world systems. Ambassador Torellian from the Say race. This guy and his race immortalized their physical bodies 1 billion years ago. Not from the Milky Way or Andromeda galaxy. They're from a galaxy far, far away, originally. They didn't make their physical bodies immortal, so they live forever. They dissolved them, just broke down the molecules and stored it in an atom of their atma, you might say, and they're able to manifest it instantly into a full-blown physical body that you could touch and talk with when they want to use one on a different plane to carry out a mission. When they're done, they just take it back and store it. That's real immortalization of the physical body. It doesn't age. It doesn't get hurt. You utilize it as an atma whenever you need it. That is a higher way of being. Everyone living on Earth today running a body has this potential. They may not believe it, not even be anywhere near being aware if this is true. But eventually their destiny is to recover this awareness. And this is true for all Atmas everywhere. So you see, when I share with people that recovering of a planet like Earth requires the recovering of planets in many world systems on many dimensional levels below the void known to Buddhist monks, etheric, mental, causal, astral, physical, and 144 parallel dimensions in each one. All of it, without destruction, has to be changed. This means that beings living in it have to start to be motivated to create that which is of uplifting benefit for all life, and not just life on their world or their home galaxy or their dimension, all life, everywhere. This is the native natural state and purpose of existing as what people on Earth call a human being. A human being is not a physical body. Hue, man, woman, hue in front of it. It has the knowledge to sound and seeing and send out a telepathic connective energy link to the source itself directly. It's the first sound behind all creation. Before the lower worlds were even made, and we were all there. All of us. You want to talk about being ancient, you're older than 200 billion years in terms of physical matter, let's put it that way. The Atma doesn't age in the way that human bodies grow old and die or any of that. It isn't made of physical matter. It's not made of astral matter. It's not made of causal, mental, or etheric matter, which are much finer levels of matter, but they're still matter. A little bit of positive and negative running even through the etheric plane. This is heaven to most people, these 4 levels, and they're not. And they're not permanent places for the Atma or soul to reside. These are teaching planes. So the Atma one day knows how to co-create of true free will and chooses to only create that which will be of uplifting benefit for the whole thing. One Atma can know and be in communion with the omnipresent living consciousness of the source itself. Why? Because that white core is exactly identical with the bigger ocean it floats in. Can't be otherwise. We know what it knows. It knows what we know. For a being to remember this consciously is another matter. All those many journeys and all those lives had a purpose, as screwed up as it's been with this experiment of evil thing. And that is to one day co-create, making these lower dimensions mirrors of the upper worlds, above the void, where there is no negative emotions and no negativity whatsoever, never has been. Does that mean that the beings that live up there really knew how to run this place down here in a more kind and benevolent way? No, because we made this decision with them long ago. Regretting it as a failed experiment won't change it. Going up there experientially and changing with others to run the lower worlds differently without destroying them, which has been done before already, by the way. The whole lower dimensions wiped out. That was drawn up into the upper worlds and rebuilt and stuck back in it to try it again. And as long as that experiment of evil keeps being put back there with it, it will always fail. We simply have to give it up and do something else. Sounds ironic, doesn't it? But this is the truth. For all of you listening, if you're rested, keep your negative fears about the future, beings from other worlds, governments, anybody lying to you, just stick it aside. Just realize they are more programmed subconsciously than you are, or they wouldn't behave like they do. All of this is reversible. Imagine someone you love and respect, you are grateful they are in your life. Could be a child, could be a savior, could be Buddha, could be anybody you admire and respect, but it needs to be something that when you first imagine it, just makes you smile inside. Now that opens a doorway in the pineal gland in the center of the human brain. Turns on a certain connection of frequency, and the white core of the Atma hovering above your body makes a connection to the source in the omnipresent field of energy out in space, and then it runs up these different interdimensional doorways all the way to the source and plugs itself in there. A Atma is meant to co-creatively be in direct contact with the source with no necessary intermediary. This is the true nature of our co-creativity with that source. We're supposed to be trusted to co-create with it. Who's going to take over running dimensions and galaxies that are being created all the time? Somebody has to do it. We're being prepared for greater responsibility and greater freedom. This negative evil thing is temporary. It was never meant to be permanent, and it's not going to be either. Imagine how things will change when it's no longer around and we have to come up with new ways of creating the universe we've never even thought of yet. Because that's the changing future destiny of Earth and the universe. It's taken all this time to prepare this unexpected change in creation, this changing of past prophesied destructive Armageddon destiny for Earth and the universe into something unexpected. It's been changed, altered, the whole future destiny of everything. This is a fact. People on Earth are going to have to come to grips with this, and they're going to be given the raise and vibration to do it because it's changing. And every single living thing is involved. Plants, trees, animals, people, races from other worlds, human, humanoid, non-human, everything you can think of, and then things you can't even imagine, are all involved in this process now for the first time. With that, I'll begin these tones, and we'll go on a little journey. All that I'm really doing is sending the hue out into the physical world to the people listening, not to their bodies, but to the Atma, the white core of their being, hovering in control above that body and running it, whether they know it or not. And then I'm raising the vibration up the different planes to represent the life they're living in each of these dimensions, astral, causal, mental, and etheric. They have a life they're living there, that this one Atma is running, not just the physical life they have on Earth. They've just been made to forget all this. That's all. They're still there. So we go into the void, then I go into the Atma plane, then I go into the planes above the void, and that's what these tones are for, to open up those doorways and help people begin to recall. They once knew this long, long ago. I will begin these tones now. The omnipresent living energy is not made of matter. It is energy, as are we, always have been, but not matter, not atoms and protons and neutrons. Something behind all that. And it runs through all the multidimensional creation. So commonsensical that scientists on Earth just can't see it, especially the non-classified ones. Because they work with theory, they don't know. This field of force is the only way that a galaxy could float in a void, a so-called vacuum of space, or a sun could maintain a nuclear center. Planets could revolve around it in precise fields, gravity, and other such things. There are natural doorways between all the multidimensional universe, located on each planet, out in space, between stars, that you have to know where they are to circumnavigate your way around. They are way higher planes, come together at a certain world to a time rate that's slower, this is faster. They come together and create a vortex. And in the process, energy from a higher level is transformed to a bit slower level and fed into the next dimension. This is true for parallel dimensions and the major divisions between major areas like physical, astral, which is emotional, causal, mental, etheric, the void, and all the worlds, the universes above that are made with pure positive energy. There is no dual current, no maya, no illusion. That doesn't mean it's the most divine, wonderful thing you can ever think of. Yes, it is relative to Earth. But beings there did not have the motivation to change the way the lower dimensions were run, with tyrant people propping themselves up for people to worship them like God, just to use them, throw them away. This is the way things have been down here. And the atmas that are running bodies in the lower worlds have not been returning to that source to share what they've learned about new ways of doing things, insights they've gained from the conflict and contrast they've experienced. This is what our real destiny is. To make it so beings can return to the source and still run bodies in all those planes, and make those planes mirrors of the upper world so that if they're beautiful nature places we can take care of, help the animals and plant life and everything else, we have to have these DNA structures fixed so that they can draw energy directly from the omnipresent field of force without having to eat food and kill things and all that nonsense. Even animals don't need to do that. Atmas are running that cat body who's asleep over there. He's out with me and Terrellium above the planet right now. I'm speaking to you from orbit above the Earth, hovering there in space as a sphere. You don't need to breathe. I find it's better to get off the planet altogether and out of its negative atmosphere in order to conduct these journeys. That's why I get people here. Or I'll take them to a parallel dimension, 3 dimensions up, there where there's a planet Earth, the same space and higher frequency, doesn't look like our Earth, and has a moon, same place, doesn't look like our moon. It's got water and land and atmosphere, and turns on its axis and goes around the planet. And it's been set up this way by great advanced beings and beings from the Galactic Alliance and many other races as a prototype, because they're going to use it as a template to change the way our Earth is and the moon, that is barren, full of craters. It's not destined to stay like that. You talk about higher science. Can you imagine what kind of science is involved to take that moon and in an instant turn it into a livable, habitable, water-filled, beautiful nature place? Such technology exists among beings who know how to get into higher planes and bring higher realities and their inventions here. You have to be able to do that. For all of you listening, imagine a beautiful butterfly landing on a rose, opening its wings, and it's like these big monarchs with all these beautiful eyes and color all over them. And then it turns around and looks at you. You can imagine yourself as a body or an atom hovering before it. And then you can hear a communication between this little creature and you that is kind. It's not like people. It's a thing of beauty. And it's there to make the world a bit more beautiful place. It has a function. Imagine a beautiful hummingbird, rainbow colored, hovering in front of your face. You can hear the little buzz of its wings. And it looks you right in the eyes and says, we are kindred spirits. You look above that hummingbird, and if you look closely, you'll see an Atma hovering above it, running it. This is not your choice that some Atma chose to be a hummingbird to see what it's like. It's temporary. Many of the animals on Earth have Atmas running them who are conscious. And they experience what people do to them thoughtlessly, cruelly. The Atmas can't be destroyed, bodies can. Animals on Earth behave exactly like the animals that human beings are, how they treat each other. They are required to follow the higher species. As an example, clearly human beings do not set a good example for the rest of life on this planet, this Earth. That is what they're meant to do, but that's not what they're doing. That too will change in ways people won't expect and couldn't comprehend right now, but that's a good thing. No one's asked to become anything different than they are on Earth until it becomes natural for them to do so. You imagine this hummingbird come up and touch its little tongue out of its long beak on your third eye and just give a little kiss. And then it flies away. When you look around you now, you're surrounded by a tall, lavender 4-foot-high grass field. And the smell in the air is like gardenia and lilacs. You're standing on a white marble circular stone floor, about 100 feet across. And you look up and see this spectacular, clean atmosphere, blue sky. And you look behind you, and you see a brown path leading a few feet to a white, golden, it's emerald colored, to an emerald colored green beach. And you can see beautiful wave curling along half-moon base shaped beach, all emerald, and this blue-green water is curling and crashing on the beach and then rolling back out to sea. You can hear it. You can smell the salt air. You can feel a mist on your face, just gently. And you look into the center of this white marble floor, and there's a statue of a woman. This is quartz crystal. It's carved perfectly. Tall, 10 feet. Big wings like an angel. She's not an angel. Sticking way out above her back, spread open. Her hands out to the side of her head, palms out, with a green light coming from them. She has long, white, silver hair. It looks like silver metal, but it's soft. You can go up and touch it. And it's this crystal device. It's made of quartz, pure. She has pointed ears like an elf, violet eyes, and a gold band around her forehead, and a teardrop shape, emerald crystal, faceted, set in this gold band. Under her hair, goes around her back. She's taller than Earth humans, longer neck, longer arms and fingers, beautiful. And you can see that that light is transmitting from her palms out to that green beach and lighting it up. This goes on 24/7. This is an interdimensional doorway. The woman depicted here actually moves between this crystal and doorway to other planets and her homeworld, all the way back on a planet called Zeolite 1. It's in our Milky Way galaxy on the other side of the galaxy. It has 3 suns. It's a trinar system. One bigger one, slightly smaller, and a smaller one that revolve around it. And 3 planets full of life. The world is 4 times bigger than Earth. And when you look through this emerald crystal in her forehead, you can see that planet hovering there in space somewhere else. And if you look at another facet in that emerald, you'll see another planet somewhere else. A water-covered world. Just a couple of little islands near the equator, and the rest is water, no polar ice caps. 3 live moons circling it, and a trinar sun system. When you look at this crystal statue, you feel like you have a physical body that looks like you, but perfectly healthy, about 30. Whatever age you are, it's a mature adult, but young and vital. It's an energy form that looks like you. When you look above and smile, you'll see, hovering above this statue, above your head, you, the Atma, the spherical energy you are running this energy form to gain experience in this reality. When you look behind you, you see a brown, 3-foot wide path, soft brown kind of moss, and it goes straight out to this emerald colored creek beach. And you're going to find yourself suddenly with your bare feet sinking into that emerald, finely polished, it's actually emeralds, this sand. And a green energy is going to come up your legs. You can feel it. It's warm and cool at the same time. And you feel a vibration come up your legs, and then it goes into the white core of your being, hovering above this body form. And then it goes out to that layer around the white core, out to the green area, and lights up some of the teardrops in it that surround it. These are higher faculties. It's good to get grounded on this planet Earth. That's what it is. Not the Earth you're familiar with. This is in a third higher parallel dimension out of 144. And this Earth exists in the same relative space as the one you're used to, but in a higher frequency. When you look up in daylight, you can see the moon, just like our moon. But this one's got water and lakes and some mountains and atmosphere. It's turning on its axis. Beautiful. 5 or 6 dome cities on it. It's not congested worlds full of too many people. There's no pollutants of any kind whatsoever on this planet or its moon. None. When you look the other direction past this tall female statue, you can see that this tall jungle trees gradually are replaced with blue-green forest trees. And they go up a plateau, and there's a tall snow-covered mountain in the distance. Very tall. Down at the base of that mountain, the upper plateau just above the tree line, is a very tall, crystal clear dome city covering 3 gold pyramids, quite large, bigger than the one in Egypt, with quartz caps. And they surround an ivory-colored, long oval dome way at their base. And then you can see there's rivers and lakes and a mountain range, a small one that's been set inside this dome in the background. So it has this nature environment within it, separate from the one that's outside it. When you look to your left past this crystal statue, you see tall, what look to be very tall, weeping willow trees drooping down to the ground with blue and green leaves that are luminous. And you see a wide, dark green river flowing past on the embankment, past those trees. They come from the mountain and they go down to the sea. We're going to hover as Atmas above the body form now. We're not at the beach. We're just in front of this tall crystal statue of this woman. And you're going to walk right into it, right through it. It's like crystal, but you can move right into it. And it's like energy, and you move inside it. And you're an Atma hovering above a body form that looks like you, hovering inside this vast, beautiful green space. And there is a woman standing there inside, levitating in the air. And she looks like the statue because she is. This is a live woman from another world, human-like. We have genes like them, but they're much more evolved. The body you're looking at is the wife of a leader on that planet, all the way on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy in the physical universe. And she is here as a gift, in a way, to the beings, the master teachers, and people from the Galactic Alliance, Torelli and the Saries that work in that dome, that come here in ships or directly as the Atma. And they go on missions from here to Earth, the one we have so much trouble with, and they go back and forth unknown to anybody on Earth. completely invisible. If they weren't there, if they not for them being there, and a base inside Mount Shasta in Northern California, inside the mountain that was built there in 1908, everybody on this planet and everything would be dead. The beings so misdirected here would have blown this place up shortly after they got nuclear weapons. And it's been prevented again and again. Not by controlling those governments, but by limiting them from destroying this world, because it would affect negatively life on this planet and many other realities that people on Earth are too ignorant and too closed down to know exist at all. And we do not have that right on Earth to do that. And we will never be given that right. Hundreds of billions of beings and other life forms do not deserve to perish or suffer because of what unconscious people do on Earth. This is the reality of creation that people on Earth do not yet know. She is standing there, smiling at you, and she puts out her hand. Go up and grab her hand with yours. Feel the energy that runs through her. She has a body just like this one. She's running on her home planet with her husband. She's also here at the same time. If you look above this form, you'll see an Atma hovering there, running this energy body. And she's here 24/7 to maintain a certain type of energy that is a gift to this world and then a gift to our world. Through this green sandy beach, it comes right back to our world. And it's grounded into 3 pyramids that are situated, 2 of them on the bottom of Earth's deepest oceans. They look like the pyramids in that dome city. And 1 is inside a mountain in the Himalayas. And they are turned on. This is in preparation for change that has never happened before on any world this way. Listen, and you can hear the sound of the wind blowing in this green energy, but it's a pure, constant sound. You don't see any wind move. It's the sound of the primordial first vibration behind all creation that runs through all things. It was there before the lower dimensions and galaxies and planets were built upon it. It is what supports them all in the voids of space. All Atmas that run human bodies and other bodies have the ability to come into awareness of this once it begins to cross their path. It is inevitable. All beings have a core purpose from the beginning of time through the infinite future to come to a level of awareness where they voluntarily co-create that which will be of uplifting benefit only to all life in the entire multidimensional creation. This is the true nature of what people on Earth call a human being. Always has been. It just needs to be recovered. Come out of this, just say thank you to this woman. She's been there just to greet us. She knows where we're from. And find yourself hovering high above the atmosphere of this planet. You're in space. There's Earth, but not the one you're familiar with seeing. You're looking now at a planet with oceans like Earth, no polar ice caps. There's a huge continent over the equator from the left hemisphere to the right. Centered over the equator, stands 2/3 away above it and 2/3 below it. And at the bottom end of that bottom third is this Half Moon Bay-shaped green beach. You can see it from space. This is Earth, not the Earth you're familiar with. And you can see golden letters appear over this landmass, says Lemuria, Mu. In this parallel dimension, this Lemuria never sank. The poles never flipped. It was protected. In the one where we come from, the Earth you're familiar with, the poles flipped regularly, destroying all life, had to be recolonized again and again, every 100,000 years. That's another great thing. The polar flips of planet Earth have been permanently ended. No more golden age to iron age or anything like that. It's going in a new direction. And if you look through the world, you can see right through it as an Atma. You'll see there's another continent on the other side, center over the equator, 2/3 its size. And it's still called Atlantis to this day. There's no overpopulation here, no misuse of science. These are places that are prepared to be used as prototypes for other worlds that need to become like this. When you look at the moon here, you can see that it is beautiful, blue-green world. Atmosphere, lakes and rivers, snow-covered mountains, 5 dome cities. Maybe there's 6, one on the backside. And they're like the dome city on the planet, below the tall snow-capped mountain. Even from space, you can see there's a waterfall coming out of the cave 2/3 the way up towards the summit of that mountain, dropping thousands of feet into the blue-green forest and disappearing as a river behind the dome city. It becomes the river that goes out past that green sandy beach and empties into the ocean. This moon and this Earth are quite different than the one you're used to, but they exist and they've been here for a very long time. Advanced beings have been able to land ships here, come here in atmoform or in ships, and do great work. Until about 7 years ago, they didn't have the tool of the new ray and the hue, the omnipresent living force, to change Earth. Now they do. Then you look at Earth and you see kind of a ripple effect of energy across space and time. When you look to the right, you're going to see a friend of mine floating there as an Atma. His name is Ambassador Terrellian of the Say Rays. A little bit brighter than we are as Atmas floating there. You can see there are dozens of other beings who've joined us on this journey. Some you may recognize, others you do not yet know. They're here to witness what we do and to go back to their worlds and share this so that it speeds everything up. They're telepathic, so they'll share the experience as if all those other people on their worlds were here with us. And Terrellian is sending out an energy, and you'll see that that energy of Earth changes, and it becomes the Earth you're familiar with. And there's the barren moon with the craters that does not return on its axis and moves around the sun, always showing us the same face. And then you find yourself hovering above your body as an Atma, looking at it fondly, smiling. You're sending this experience right into the top of your head because your body's in the trance state we call sleep. It's the same thing you do as experts every night to put it to sleep without effort, only you go to sleep unconsciously. This time, the body's in the same state, but you're bringing back the awareness of this journey to it and downloading it there. So the human on Earth can have a higher awareness and a more expanded consciousness of what it is and why it exists. You'll see a green energy come through the pineal gland, out through your being, out through the world, out to those pyramids at the bottom of the oceans, one in the Himalayas, and you'll see that your energy is connected to these devices. They only move in one way. They do not work with fear, negative emotions at all, and they don't create any negative things. They're only constructive. And then when you're ready, open your eyes.
Thank you for the journey and thank you for your knowledge, Scott.
Well, you're welcome. I think it's good that people actually visualize going and getting inside this crystal statue, meeting this person, because you see, from my perspective, these are real beings and they're really there to be of benefit, to help this Earth make a transition that a world this backwards never about to go through what it's going to go through in this way before. You know, it's not a destructive change. People on Earth are capable of destroying everything all by themselves. They don't need any help from outside. But changing that momentum into a different direction is why many billions of beings are working on many levels, not just to help Earth, but many other worlds too. So I want to leave everybody with that. And I want to wish them pleasant dreams tonight.
Thank you, Scott.
And the thing about this is, because it's recorded, I can send it to you, can upload it to YouTube, and then they can review this, hopefully at a time what's my recommendation? They replay it when they can be vital and alert, calm, and not be disturbed for an hour or so, and go through the journey again, so that the visualizations of what they're doing and what they're really accomplishing becomes more and more real to them. Changes consciousness on Earth, expands it.
Okay.
Okay,
So
I'll
see you
stop.
next week.
Next week, I'll stop the recording now, and then everybody, pleasant journeys.